Hello, Podsmashers of the internet, and welcome to another episode of
A-T-B Podsmash,
where gaming goes to grab a beer.
Oh no, I got beer on my keyboard. Just a little bit.
we are your hosts.
Penguin and Termite.
I am Termite.
I am Penguin, who just unfortunately spilled a little bit of foam on his keyboard. And we are a weekly video game podcast where we smash together topics you care about with video games. And tonight, the topic we are talking about is we are doing a developer profile, a series we haven't touched in a while. And we are going to be talking about Sucker Punch Studios. Nope, Sucker Punch Productions. That's what their official name is. The makers
because the hype of Ghosts of Tsushima is real.
Yes.
And we're excited. And we're ready to play it.
Coming out this week, exactly. So the week that you guys are listening to it. So still a couple weeks for us, but we're looking forward to it. So we are going to kind of do a dive into who they are as a publisher and what other games they've made. And yeah, hopefully it'll give you some semblance as to what they're all about before you fire up Ghost of Tsushima. So
yeah, and give you a little bit of a pedigree and an education when you do fire up Ghost of Tsushima.
Huzzah! All right,
Huzzah.
So let's start off where we usually do, which is where we talk about kind of news and things that have been going on in the gaming industry.
What about our beers?
That's right. We are where gaming goes to grab a beer. So what are you drinking
about what we're drinking. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking.
You actually have a beer.
I do. Do you not? Oh, that's right. You're drinking bourbon. Yeah, I'm just drinking a Slightly Mighty.
Spoiler alert.
Doing some low-cal dieting. So I wanted, low-carb dieting. So I wanted something with 3.6 carbs in it. So it's good beer. You've talked about it. We both talked about it at length. But
yes, we have.
Figured I'd bring it up because I'm not sure if you ever heard of it before. So
you are the worst. You're the worst, burr.
I figured I would just bring your attention to this low-carb, low-cal beer.
Yep, you know.
What are you drinking tonight?
I am drinking Woodford Reserve bourbon, and I don't have the bottle with me to read, but it is...
Sounds fancy.
It's delicious, and there was a sale over July 4th weekend at the ABC store, and a massive 1.75 liter bottle was $13 off. So I was like, I'm going to cut back on beer, like you are. And between now and like August, my birthday's at the end of July. So I was like, between now and my birthday, I think I can rein in the beer and just switch to bourbon. And so I bought a huge bottle of bourbon.
Yeah, I might do that as well.
And it's so good. It's not as sweet as like a Bullet is. I don't have like it. Bullet almost tastes like iced tea. It's kind of sweet, but it's so good too. So this is like less on the sweet scale and more on the caramel wood oak kind of taste flavor profiles. Yep. Delish.
Cool. Awesome. Well, sweet. Then let's go ahead and let's talk about news and things that are going on. So what is happening in the gaming industry since last we talked?
Well, we had a weird situation where we had to delay our recording last week to Thursday, and then the 4th of July weekend happened, and now it's Monday.
Yeah.
So nothing really happened.
Yeah, not a lot happened over a holiday weekend, though there was one piece of news that we wanted to cover that we didn't really get a chance to cover last week, and that is there was a Twitch ban, a permanent Twitch ban on a very popular streamer named Dr. Disrespect that we wanted to kind of briefly discuss. It's interesting because they didn't provide a public reason as to why they banned him, and apparently the only response that he had was that they did not give him a reason why either. That doesn't mean he doesn't know the reason already, but it means that their statement to him did not include a reason why he was banned. But it's a big deal. Dr. Disrespect is a huge name in Twitch.
Massive.
The fact they didn't give a reason is kind of weird, but there are, it's tempting to want to draw some parallel to, the other kinds of things that Twitch is cracking down on or has said they're publicly cracking down on now. But, that's venturing into speculation territory, so I will not unnecessarily accuse anybody. The facts are he got banned. There's not really a reason, but Termite and I don't have a great love for Dr. Disrespect, so we're not going to sit here and defend him from Twitch's ban. So I'm sure Twitch had a good reason, and I, for one, am not particularly sad to see him go. He was not a particularly healthy influencer in the industry. Right. He's the guy who got E3. Was it the Game Awards or was it E3 last year?
It was E3.
He got a temporary suspension when he went into he brought cameras into the public bathroom, which is like a crime. Like, you can't do that. So he's clearly a guy who has no respect for boundaries and is just a general icky person in my assessment of him. But
And there was a kerfluffle even then because there were women who were being banned for like scandalously clad dress, and they're like doing that in a way that they want to. It's their body, right? And then Dr. Disrespect runs into a bathroom where people are not trying to show their bodies, potentially exposing way more than just some scandalously clad clothing. And Twitch's response to Dr. Disrespect at that time was significantly less than what they have been doing on the women. And so like there was do Twitch's standards even matter? And so Dr. Disrespect's name was already kind of raked through the mud.
Sullied,
at the time.
For sure.
Sullied his good name. And now, in the wake of the second Me Too movement that's happening, I say second because the first one was Hollywood with Weinstein, and now we had a whole episode about it last week, so go check that out. And this news article actually got cut because we didn't have enough time to talk about it. Now, Twitch is doing an actively like campaigning against any abuse, sexual abuse, etc. And so Dr. Disrespect has been banned from Twitch.
Right. And again, we don't want it's weird because it's been weeks now, or not weeks, but it's been a fair amount of time since the ban happened. And as far as I know, I haven't seen anything. There may be an update now, but as far as I know, over the weekend, there was no update on his situation, like why he was banned. So to draw that direct parallel to Twitch's other crackdowns is probably unfair at this point, probably still speculation at this point. But yeah, he does not strike me as the kind of person who didn't do something to get, like got unjustly banned. So time will tell. It'll come out. It eventually will be, it'll be known probably. So
and this time it's permanent.
Yeah, he's permanent.
Not a temporary ban.
He cannot go back.
Done.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So it'll be interesting to see, how his fans, whether they rally behind him, but like what platforms could possibly take him, would possibly take him. The only other ones out there are like Facebook, YouTube, and that's it. Because Mixer, Facebook and YouTube are really the only other big streaming giants out there that have the infrastructure to support that, and have also the kind of the audience to support that. So, and
Facebook is embroiled in a giant boycott stuff happening right now because they're not censoring hate speech.
They're not cracking down on hate speech.
They're not cracking down on it at all. And so now Microsoft and Sony have both committed to a time of money being pulled out of their ads. I think it's like a month they're doing it. They're removing all their ads, all their money from Facebook, in addition to like, I think we talked about that last week as well.
Yeah.
But like Honda,
we talked
Coca-Cola,
a little bit about that.
Yeah. So it's crazy.
Stuff's
good
going
stuff.
on.
Progress is happening
for sure. Yeah, things are definitely happening. People are hopefully being held more accountable to their actions. Obviously, it's not a perfect world, so not every injustice will be held accountable. But in the meantime, the ones we're getting right now are at least a step forward. So cool. All right. Did you have something else? You had something else about Animal Crossing, right? Yeah,
there was a new update in Animal Crossing. You can go swimming now. It's amazing. You can get a wetsuit. It kind of acts like as a tool. Because you have shovels and fishing rods and bug catching nets, and you can go get a wetsuit, go to Nook's Cranny, go buy one, and then you go straight into the ocean and start swimming around, and you can now collect sea creatures, and it's an entirely new type of collectible that you can donate to your museum to build out your aquarium even more. I've already started. I probably got like 9 or 10 different sea creatures already, and I ran through the aquarium in excitement to see the differences that it makes, and they're like the background, the flourishing, and like there are sea anemones and urchins and mussels and awesome stuff. And I'm extremely excited about it because it breathed a little bit of new life just when I was starting to wane on my daily Animal Crossing churn. Now I got to go get my daily sea creatures and donate them to the museum. It's awesome.
I'm happy for you, and I'm happy for Animal Crossing fans. It does.
It's so good.
In no way attract me to play that game any more than I was before. But all right, I am thinking that we are done with that. And so even though the Animal Crossing update may not be my favorite thing,
doing this podcast is our favorite thing. Favorite things.
Favorite Things is a segment of our show where we update you with the fun thing that we have experienced or partaken of or purchased this week, so that you, in hopes, might find your next favorite thing if you have not heard of these things yet. So mine, I'll go ahead and say, I guess, or maybe it's probably more appropriate to sing it. My favorite thing is Alexander Hamilton. My favorite thing is Alexander Hamilton. And there's a million lyrics I haven't memorized, but just you wait. Yes, I saw Hamilton for the first time since it was made roughly freely available to me, I guess at the cost of a $6.99 membership. But since it was made infinitely cheaper than buying a ticket and seeing it in New York City,
rightfully so.
Yeah. So I saw it. Yeah, saw it streaming this weekend, and it was good. It was very good.
It was amazing.
I told you it was pretty good just to troll you, and it was a troll that was successful. And it was entertaining. I liked the music more than I thought I would. It's not that I have anything against that kind of music. In fact, I actually am more interested in like rap and hip hop now that I've watched Atlanta and kind of exposed myself more to that culture. But for the longest time, the music just didn't really draw me. But I was surprised to find that there was much more like actual traditional musical influence than I kind of went in expecting. So, but one of the things I appreciated about it, this is all I'll say about it, is I appreciated that, I talked to you about this briefly, the fact that it is very much so rap and hip hop inspired in its sound means that the word choices have to take into account more than just like the word choices of the writing have to take into account for more than just like what words you choose, but how those words fit the rhythm as well. And in that regard, it is very Shakespearean because Shakespeare's plays were all written in meter. Mm-hmm. And so his words not only had to be the best words to convey the story he was trying to tell, but they also had to fit a meter and would end up sounding very rhythmic. And when you speak Shakespeare's lines, they are very rhythmic. So that rhythm carrying throughout the play and affecting the actual word choices, it reminded me very much of Shakespeare, and I am a big fan of that. So that was probably the thing that stood out to me the most. So it was very good.
Awesome about us being different is that you approached it from your theater background and your education about musicals and your experience on stage and all the things you've just described, which I have zero of. I've seen Wicked, The Book of Mormon, and Hamilton. Okay. And that's it. I've not done The Sound of Music.
Have you not seen a Shakespeare play live?
Never.
Oh, I am taking you to Stanton.
Phantom of the Opera. I think it is horrible.
What is wrong with you? Phantom is great.
I never want to see it again, ever. Like, I was just like fuming when I was done with that. Like, I was the main character, the Phantom. He is just so bad and so toxic and so like, that I couldn't get past that to appreciate the music. So anyway,
he's better than Raoul. The primary love interest is worse. But sorry,
what's Raoul?
His name's Raoul. He's the worst. I don't like Raoul.
Oh, there was that one. Wolverine was in it. What's that? Hugh Jackman.
Huge.
It was amazing. The musical that made a movie. I can't remember. I cannot believe I'm slipping on.
The Greatest Showman.
Before that. Greatest Showman's okay.
Australia? I don't know what you're talking about.
No. Oh my God.
We are getting quagmired.
Ryan is screaming. Ryan is screaming at the radio. Anyway, my point of view from Hamilton was that I love hip hop. I have loved hip hop for years, and I have done tons of work on my end to like research different rappers and like listen through different ages of hip hop and go through all this stuff. So you talk about the layers of how it's complex and not just lyrically conveying an idea rhythmically, but the other layer is Lin-Manuel Miranda paid homage to all the different types of rapping and had different styles and characters written with that. So the pacing was different. Notorious
that was clear. Like, even if I didn't know the specific references, I would pick up on things that I have heard before from that. And that was really cool. But yeah, man, I'm taking you to Stanton sometime. We're going to watch some real theater at some point.
Sweet. I love watching. Like, I love going to shows. Don't get me wrong.
I'm going to make you sit down and watch theater that doesn't have a sweeping orchestra to guide you through how you're supposed to feel in any given moment. Make your mind does that. Make you engage. No. I'm talking about taking you to Shakespeare play.
Right, where there's no music at all.
No music. Well, they do some songs, and depending on the play, there might actually be music in the play too. But
is there a lute?
Musical. Well, the guys down in Stanton, they'll do it with like guitars and stuff. They'll kind of modernize it depending on the context.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I'll take you.
Yeah,
it'll be cool.
I know Romeo and Juliet. I saw the Leonardo DiCaprio movie.
Just don't even start with me right now. Anyways, my second favorite thing. Sorry, I have a really small, tiny one. Did you know that if you cook radishes, they lose their bitter flavor and take on the flavor of whatever you're cooking with? And they have the consistency of potatoes.
Yep.
I didn't know that. Okay, so I didn't know that. I just discovered this and made some pot roast with radishes instead of potatoes in order to be lower carb, and it was awesome. I was like, there's no way this isn't a potato right now. You are tricking me. So, yeah, it's pretty cool.
There you
pretty
go.
Cool thing I learned. So, cooking tip out there. second favorite thing. Sorry, go on. Your favorite things.
Well, my favorite thing was definitely Hamilton coming to Disney Plus. My wife and I had seen it in New York 2 years ago. It'll be 2 years August, so almost 2 years ago. And it was not the original stage production orchestra cast. And I, of course, listened to it forever before going to see it live. Seeing it live after having most of the lyrics not memorized, not having the story memorized at all, but seeing it live really opened up my eyes to seeing all of the intricacies of like differentiating between Angelica and Eliza. Because when you're just listening to it and you don't know the story, like it's hard to distinguish they're two different people or when they're singing and conveying the love interest, the wife, etc. And that's just one small example. Another one was the Bullet. I don't know if you noticed, but there is an entire actor. She's an actress, actually. That is the Bullet.
Yep.
And she's holding a bullet.
I learned about that. Yep. And then she shakes her hand with people before they die or whatever. Like she's a harbinger of death. Yeah. There's a lot of cool, complicated, intricacies in
I
staging.
noticed in the eye of a hurricane, there is quiet. It was mind blowing live. Like amazing to see all of the stage actors like holding all the furniture like, upside down and around him, like making the hurricane eye and the chaos around Hamilton, and just like visually being able to see that instead of just listening to it was mind blowing.
You see all this stuff I learned about in my theater education in college, where it's like you do all this, like all of these things that you're picking up on, and all the things that you never picked up on are 100% intentional, because directors will break down every single movement and stuff and be like, is this intentional? Like, do we want to intentionally convey something through this? It's an awesome process. It is an exhausting process, and sometimes it's a fruitless process if your audience doesn't actually pick up on what you're trying to convey. But it is, I miss it. Watching Hamilton, I was like, man, I miss it. I'm going to do some theater. I'm going to go make some theater right now, right here.
Okay.
We're going to make theater in a digital space.
80-bit Podsmash theater program. Funded by you.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you were saying you liked the...
when it was announced that it was coming to Disney Plus to watch the original cast do it, I was like, hold... Nothing matters. We're doing Hamilton July 3rd, Friday night. We're putting the kids to bed. We're getting food. We're getting wine or drinks, and we're having a date night, and we are going to consume this play once again. I cannot freaking wait. And it met all of my expectations. It was absolutely phenomenal. And I just told you before we started recording tonight that I wanted to watch it again. I will probably watch it 1,000 more times.
It's on. Do you know how much Disney spent for the rights to it?
No.
$75 million. They spent more for the rights on Hamilton than they did for, I think, the entirety of, I want to say either Star Wars or Marvel. One of those they only spent $25 million on.
Dang.
And so like, and I saw something, it paid off, because I saw something about their subscription numbers boosting like 70% or something ridiculous like that over the weekend. But
excuse me, Disney, but your musical smells like your daddy's got money.
It's good. They need to get, that was a Hamilton quote, I am assuming, but I can catch them now. Just you wait. I'll catch them all.
Tomorrow there'll be more of them.
It's good for the actors though, because a lot of those actors and a lot of those producers and a lot of the designers and front of the house, back of the house team members are all out of work right now. So if you know somebody who is in the theater, who works in the theater, then like reach out to them, make sure they're doing okay, because they don't have the support right now, because their shows can't open and they can't make their living right now. And all of their training and experience, they can't do it. So they really rely on that $600, $400, $600, whatever unemployment benefits. So like also consider that kind of thing when you're voting. Like your friends may be directly affected by that if that kind of stuff gets pulled back, because they're out of work, and it's not anyone's fault. It's not their fault. It's just society's fault right now for not doing what they need to do to keep the coronavirus numbers down. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but again, that's why I say it's great for the actors that they were able to get such a good lucrative deal, because hopefully those actors and designers and everyone involved in that show will get royalties and a payout from that performance being given to Disney. So anyways, all right, so we are basically at our time.
I did watch Jesus Christ Superstar on TV when it streamed. You reminded me of that when you were talking about actors getting royalties and like getting noticed for future work. I was like, oh, Aaron Burr was in Jesus Christ Superstar as Judas.
Nice.
And I remember watching that. So when I had said, I'm very, very small, I've seen 5 musicals. Anyway, I wanted to add that to
the actor who played Aaron Burr, he was phenomenal. That dude was nuts. Like he was a great actor. They're all very good actors. Actually, and I was actually not least impressed, but I was actually not as impressed with Lin-Manuel Miranda. I'm like, he's a phenomenal music writer. He's a phenomenal writer.
Yeah.
Not the best performer. All things I was surprised. I was like, oh,
yeah,
like,
you're not
okay.
the only person. I've heard that critique before. Yeah,
he's okay.
And that's kind of what's unique about him. Is
right,
like, he's not this,
and he does
like,
have a very unique voice. But
he does, and he doesn't have like he doesn't have a perfect musical voice. But what he does give you, it works. You know, like it clicks, it works, it sounds great, and you can listen to him over it. But I've noticed it too with like Moana. He sings a song in that too. And I was just talking to my wife about how like Lin-Manuel has got this whole brand around him. It's like he does have to have.
I was surprised how like when I was watching Hamilton, I'm like, man, that like honestly, I now get that Moana was written by him. Like it's totally different musical styles, but like there are some direct parallels to either his rhythm or the beats he chooses, but something about the music made me think of Moana. I was like, yeah, well, okay, all right, yep, these were written by the same dude. But anyways, we're out of time for favorite things, so let's move on to our next segment, which is DLC. DLC stands for downloadable content. It's because both of our names are Dan. That's why we go by Penguin and Termite, so you can distinguish us. But since we're both Dan, this is some downloadable content where we load it from our brains.
What?
So I want you to think of a couple of video game female characters that are typically portrayed as damsels in distress. So the opposite of strong female characters. And I want you to think of like one or two. And since the reason I'm doing that is, have you ever seen the movie Sucker Punch?
Nope.
Okay.
But every time I Google Sucker Punch, I see it.
You see it? Okay. Yeah. So it's a movie by Zack Snyder, the same guy who did Watchmen, Justice League, or who started Justice League. He's the one that they're doing the whole Snyder cut for Justice League on HBO Max, and it's like a big deal. The 5-hour version that he intended or whatever. But so he made a movie called Sucker Punch back in 2000. I don't even remember when it came out. But a basic premise of it was all these like girls who were in like a helpless, abusive situation, but somehow they were able to enter into a mind world, I guess, and become like awesome, like sword wielding, gun toting heroines, if you will. And kind of overcome their and it's one of those trippy movies where they're like in a mental hospital, so you never know if it's actually any of this is actually real, but that's not the point.
Joker.
But it's but they each have like cool, cute, like cool names to go along, like to kind of match their personality. So like the main one is like Baby Doll, and she wears like a schoolgirl uniform, but she's got like a katana and an SMG or whatever. And then there's
this movie sounds awesome,
dude. It's actually a really good movie. I really enjoyed Sucker Punch, like the one or two times I watched it. And yeah, you should check it out. But because we're doing a developer profile on Sucker Punch Productions, which has no relation to the movie Sucker Punch, I thought it would be fun to Sucker Punch some female video game characters. So what would it be like if female protagonist who is typically a damsel in distress got, quote, sucker punched in the Zack Snyder style and had like a BA persona, if you will. And what would that look like? So you ready to do it? Do you have your...
To troll... Yeah, I got you.
Got me?
You ready? Yep. To troll you, Meryl Silverburr from Metal Gear Solid.
At least you weren't like the greatest damsel of distress in all time, Solid Snake.
No, but you know that's a trope in us now.
Yeah.
So,
all right, what Meryl Silverburr? I don't know anything about, so you're gonna have to. I'll Google her so I can get a semblance.
Video
of
game character in the Metal Gear series by Hideo Kojima.
No, I get it.
She was originally a character.
What does she look like
from the
you
94?
Sucker Puncher? What does she look like if she's sucker punched?
Well, I mean, she's got a pistol. She's kind of like a young, scrappy chick that's new to the Marines or whatever military organization. Snake finds her as what she's supposed to be on the opposite side, but she's kind of trapped in that she doesn't really agree with everything, but you know, she likes Snake and appreciates him with his viewpoint on what's going on as he's trying to stop nuclear fallout from happening. And my memory's terrible, so I don't remember much other than that.
So sucker puncher, what is she then if she gets sucker punched into being an awesome heroine protagonist?
So do you know Sharpshooter is in, I think, is that a DC comic superhero? Or is that, who Punisher fought him? Yeah. He was a Punisher villain.
Okay.
What was his name? He's like the super good shot, like all the time. It was,
so I know what you're talking about. Bullseye.
Yeah, that's the guy. So that's what she would be. She would just be like this amazing sniper / gun player, slinger. You know, like if you saw the movie,
didn't he have throwing knives? Didn't he have to? Would she have?
He had everything.
Would she have like okay,
any
gotcha.
projectile. Yeah, so she would have all that. Like she would have throwing knives, she would have ninja stars, and guns out the wazoo. And she was an amazing shot. That's her superhero ability, and she would just like be amazing.
So we got to give her a good code name, and because it's a play on her name, and because it works with what you described, I'm thinking we call her Silver Bullet.
Yeah,
nice.
Cool.
All right, cool.
Yep.
All right, you got another one? You got another helpless female for me?
Are you ready for this?
Hit me up with it.
Elizabeth from BioShock Infinite.
Yeah, girl. I love it. Yeah, so I'm thinking...
You know that?
Yeah, no, I'm thinking she's wearing still wearing a corset, but she's got like a ripped skirt with like combat boots and like a knife, like one of those big old like kukri knives, like strapped to her thigh or calf, I mean. And then she's got mind power, so she still has the thimble on the end of her finger, but like she's got like a gauntlet like that accentuates, like her finger's still exposed, but then the rest of her hand is like clad in a gauntlet, and then she's got the little thimble on the end. And I'm guessing she's gonna be wielding the kinds of weapons that what's his face did, Booker did. So like she's got a grenade launcher, she's got a shotgun. And for a melee weapon, she's got that claw thing, the spinning grapple hook thing from the game.
Yep.
And we need a name for her. We need a maybe Portal or
Time Splitter. That's another video game.
Ooh, I kind of like that because it's like a whole different video game, but it's a reference to it.
Yeah.
Time Splitter. That's good. I like it. All right, cool. That's our DLC for the day.
Sweet.
That's our content that came right from our brains, and we sucker punched some females. And they are now...
Oh, that sounded terrible.
That's it, didn't it? We gave this... Oh, gosh. Sucker punch treatment doesn't sound any better. We Zack Snyder.
Nope.
No, we'll say that. We Zack Snydered some video game characters.
That doesn't sound good either.
We made them cool. How about that? We made them cooler.
There you go. Just stay simple. Keep it simple.
So that's DLC. Man, we just had like a really woke conversation on sexism in the video game industry, and I think I just shattered. I just shattered it all. My intentions were noble. I apologize, but I was trying to play off of Sucker Punch Productions, but they don't make any of those games, by the way. So hopefully that doesn't confuse anybody. But cool.
Mm-mm.
All right. Well, go check out Sucker Punch the movie, and then you might have a better idea of what I'm talking about.
I want to see it.
All right, cool. Well, then we are talking about Sucker Punch Productions today. They are the video game company responsible for the upcoming Ghost of Tsushima. They are now a PlayStation. Are they a PlayStation studio?
They are a PlayStation first party studio.
Yeah. They haven't. They weren't. They didn't always. They weren't always though. I think so. I think that most of their game stuff.
Only the first game was not.
Yeah. Okay. Well, but were they exclusive? I mean, they were exclusive, but were they like a studio under? Like, were they getting a paycheck from Sony when they made?
They were bought by Sony or made exclusive to Sony in 2011.
Okay, cool,
like officially.
Great, yeah. So they did make games before that were exclusive on the PlayStation, but they weren't like part of the umbrella of Sony first party studios. But now they are. So
much like Insomniac with Ratchet and Clank,
exactly.
Until Spider-Man, when now they are acquired by Sony. But anyway,
so let's go over. Well, then let's go over the basics and talk a little bit about their story, their history. Who are they? What games are they known for? And what is their story?
They are a company founded in '97. A group of guys that used to work at Microsoft. Chris Zimmerman and where's the other guy? What's his name? I'm horrible with names. I think it was Brian Fleming.
I was going to say Brian Fleming. I see a bunch of founders here, though. It looks like Bruce.
Bruce Oberg, Daryl Plank, Tom, and Kathy Saxton joined later.
Okay.
I think it was a couple of years after that, like 99. But so the first two guys, Brian Fleming and Chris Zimmerman, they were working for Microsoft, and they were working on like all the different various things, the iterations of MS-DOS and Microsoft Windows at the time back in 97. And they like got their heads together. We're thinking, I want to do something different. We've been doing this forever. They've worked together for like 8 or 9 years in various projects in Microsoft. And so like, let's get into games. And they were looking at the gaming landscape, and they were looking at all the different types of stuff that was going on. And in the PC gaming space, there's like 5,000 games across all of the consoles. There's like 500 games. And then the N64 had like 50 or 30 at the time. So they were like, hey, there's an ocean we can jump in with only 30 competitors. So they got their heads together. They started a company. They were not interested whatsoever in any of the businessy, marketing, venture capital stuff that would normally go behind getting funded. So they just self-funded. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what that means, but they just like I guess they maybe second mortgages. I don't know, but they worked tirelessly for like months. And then they brought on, the other people we just mentioned, the founders, and established the company and developed the very first game called Rocket Robot on Wheels.
Yeah, I just pulled it up and I recognize the box art, but I don't think I ever played this game. I think this one missed me entirely.
I've never even seen a screenshot of that game until tonight when I was doing some research for the show.
Yeah.
And
it's a platformer.
Funnily enough,
it's cartoony, cute platformer game. Yeah.
We always talked about how like Nintendo had an iron grip on everything that they produced. And in the past, in some of our like gaming by the decades or one of our series that we did talking about Nintendo, we had mentioned that, say, if you wanted to develop a game for Super Nintendo, or even the N64, you had to go to Nintendo and they had to approve it. And you had to buy all of the development kits, the cartridges that the game was going to be printed on. With their approval, you had to buy all those materials, and then you could then release a game on the N64. So as they were going around, they targeted the N64 specifically, so they go straight to Nintendo, right? They used to work for Microsoft. They knew this kind of idea was like how it would work. You go and you say, hey, we want to make this game for you guys. We need your dev kits. We need your like Microsoft has a licensing system in place where you just give Microsoft $400 and they send you back all this, like the source development kit that you need, all the code, the libraries you can link to. You're like, go make a game for Windows. Here you go. Done. Right. So they have the same mindset when they go to Nintendo. They're like, hey, we just tell Nintendo we're going to make this game and they'll just give us all the stuff that we need and we'll pay a license fee. No, Nintendo shut them down. They like completely said no. And they even had a playable demo that was like one level of the game, and Nintendo was nope. And come back in several months whenever, you iterate on the game and make it a little better. So they had no way of actually developing the game for the N64. So they had to like mock up a PC and start developing it for that using a joystick, and all, of course, Microsoft Windows, right? Super smart, super talented guys, like awesome. They did a bunch of cool things with physics that were unheard of and kind of not really normal at the time. So things wouldn't be repeatable exactly the same way every time you would jump or solve puzzles. Apparently there's like buoys on water and like you have to arrange them. It's sort of a puzzle platformer. And so they did iterate on the game and they made it a little better and polished. They go back to Nintendo with Ubisoft as a publisher. They go to E3 and they demo the game themselves at E3. They have no one. They went to everyone. They went to Activision. They went to EA. EA offered them money to not make the game, but to buy them as a company. Like, you guys will make us a game, but not this one.
So glad that there's a parallel universe out there, of course, where that happened. They took that deal, and Sucker Punch is worse for it. So, or may not exist. Probably got shut down because we know how EA does those things. So glad that we're in this universe where they said no to that deal.
Right. So they finally land, like after that E3, they get a hotel room outside of E3 close by, and they set up their own booth and they try to attract attention and they get people to play their game, their demo. The game's like 80% done at this point, and Ubisoft comes to them. And it's like, hey, we'll fund you. So they publish the game through Ubisoft. That's how they got their arm into Nintendo to actually get the Nintendo stuff that they needed to make the game. And so there is a game out there called Rocket Robot on Wheels.
I want to try it. I would be willing to fire up my N64 for that. But if someone has a copy that they want to get rid of, then please send it to us and we'll add it to our collections and play it.
The landscape was like mascot platformers at the time. So we had Mario, we had
Spyro,
even on right. Thank you.
Sonic,
Spyro's drawing blanks on all the Crash Bandicoot. And so Rocket it wasn't character centric like those were. It was more mechanic centric focused. And the reason why I'm bringing this up now is because we're going to talk about them as a developer studio and what their style is. We like to talk about how and highlight what a development studio's style. When you play a game, how do you know this was made by X developer?
Right.
So Sucker Punch's style started right here. And it's like, let's not focus on the character in a world full of character platformers. Let's make something unique and different, and let's focus on the technical aspect of it with really sharp programming skills and doing things with physics on the N64 hardware that you could not do on the PlayStation. You could not port this game to PlayStation at all because it could not do what they were doing. And so that's kind of why Nintendo said no at first, actually, is because it was different. But Ubisoft liked it. They picked it up and published it. And so that'll go into our later conversation, but that was kind of what distinguished them in that field of platformers.
So they would.
So that's their history.
So then they would go on to create actually very few games. When you look at from 1999 to 2020, they've actually not had like a crazy like quantity of games they've made. And honestly, I'm gonna come out right and say it, I've never played any of these games. So Ghost of Tsushima will be my first Sucker Punch game.
I'm not laughing at you. It's just ironic.
Yeah.
It's ironic. We're gonna talk about this publisher.
And I've never played it. Yeah.
All this cool stuff.
Honestly,
and
I had
I've
not played any. I hadn't really played many Naughty Dog when we did that one. I hadn't really played many Insomniac when we did that one. And now I've played many of those developers' games. So I would not be surprised if this caused me to end up checking out other Sucker Punch games. In fact, I lied. I have played the first 30 minutes of Infamous Second Son, but that's literally the only exposition. That's the only time I've been exposed to it. Like in our words here. Anyways, so they would go on to create a couple of, as I alluded to, a couple of primary IPs that would kind of be their bread and butter. They made, right after Rocket, they would make the Sly Cooper franchise, which they started with Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus. And then they'd have 2 more entries in that. But all 3 of those games were on PlayStation 2 from 2002 to 2005. 2009, they would come out with Infamous, and they would have 5 games in that franchise: Infamous 1, Infamous 2, Infamous Festival of Blood, and then Infamous Second Son and First Light. So that would be from 2009 to 2014 on various PlayStation platforms. From the first 3 games were on the 3, and the last 2 were on the 4.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
Yeah.
And Infamous 1 and 2 were major titles, like big AAA games. The Infamous Festival of Blood was actually like a standalone DLC for Infamous 2. And Infamous First Light was the same standalone DLC for Second Son.
Got it. Okay.
Much like we have Lost Legacy for Uncharted.
So kind of the, what do they call them? Expandalones or whatever?
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, I think
I've heard that recently.
Yeah. So it's like, even so, if you take that into consideration, it's like 3 Sly Cooper games, 3 Infamous games, and now Ghost of Tsushima, and that's it.
And yeah, that's all they make. So again, they are very much I guess, or they at least come across to me for that reason as kind of a quality over quantity kind of developer, which is rare in this. Usually, especially with publishers, especially first party studios, for various companies, they seem to be kind of generally expected to crank out stuff. But so yeah, it's kind of cool that they've more or less been able to just kind of work at their own pace and make their games as they want when they want to. So anyways, then so let's break down each of those franchises we just talked about. Then Sly Cooper. So Sly Cooper is again a kind of another. It's like a stealth platformer character. So the character of Sly Cooper is kind of a swashbuckling raccoon-looking character, and it's a stealth game. It has like stealth elements.
Stealth platform, apparently.
Yeah. Have you not played
cell shading, rendering?
Have you not played Sly Cooper?
I have not played any Sly Coopers.
So interesting.
I've seen it, but I've not played Sly Cooper.
Right.
So it's like stealth platform game, cell shaded graphics. It's like a mascot for PlayStation 2, and I want them. I want all of them.
It was popular enough apparently for him to show up in the PlayStation attempt at Smash. Yeah, PlayStation All-Stars or whatever. So that's kind of cool, I guess. So alongside characters like Ratchet and Clank, and then Nathan Drake and Kratos, and who else is that? I'm looking at the PlayStation All-Stars front page. The Big Daddy
Cole from Infamous.
So anyways, so their attempt at like making a mascot fighting game.
Princess.
Yep. So anyways, and then Infamous, you can probably talk more about Infamous, but it's basically like a superhero game, I guess, like a stylish.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. And it started out as being more comical, like in the literal sense of comics, superhero comics, where it was going to have more of the colorful
like a graphic novel look,
tights and capes and, like face masks and things. But then as the course of development happened, they decided to scale that back. They even had a system in place where you could buy superhero powers at any time, kind of making it super open world and non-linear, and you could just buy them. But they said they found difficulty in character progression and scaling the difficulty of the enemies or something. I'm not a game designer, so I'm sure that makes sense to anyone who might be in game design and can speak more to that, but that's not us. So what we ended up getting was an actual modern, more realistic, grungy, dark.
Right.
We talked about in our early aughts, like game by the decades in the early aughts, how the gaming industry went through this like dark emo phase where everything was gritty and dark.
Right.
And so like that's what
the look of the game
one is definitely
even
that.
Second Son, the brief amount that I played of it looked very much like 90s grunge. Like the 90s grunge scene.
Yep.
That's kind of what, Nirvana. Like I imagine the main character listening to a lot of Nirvana. And that's what's kind of the like vibe that I got from Infamous Second Son. But with again, they made you do a bunch of like spray painting stuff too. So that made me think again, kind of like, it's kind of a kind of urban setting. You're tagging things but they have superpowers. So yeah, that was kind of the vibe I got. But again, Haven't played it much, so I could be very wrong and off base about that. So feel free to correct me.
I never finished the first Infamous.
Uh-huh.
I've dabbled in the second, and I've played like 4 or 5 hours of Second Son. So I got almost all the way through Infamous 1. I need to restart it and play it again. Oh yeah, the biggest thing about Infamous 1 was a moral path. You could choose light or dark. And so, of course, you have different superhero powers to accentuate like which one. The side quests were kind of new for that time frame. Open world city, it kind of mocks New York. A big event happens, like a package is delivered, it blows up, and it like causes the whole city to go into chaos, and you're kind of left as a superhero saving folks. So there's a lot of side quests, stuff that we see in like Spider-Man from Insomniac, where you're just running around and you like run into a random person to do a side quest. And so like you're met with moral decisions throughout those things, which have a meter for like honor or not, and you have different powers. Everything is scalable, so that was awesome. It was like Assassin's Creed kind of started it, where you could climb every building. So that it made a unique use of like pipes and ledges you could hang from. And then eventually you could kind of glide in through the air with like electricity, which is really fun. So it gave you that godlike fun power. Infamous is awesome. Like it is super underrated. And I wish more people would be excited about it and play more of it, because I loved Infamous.
I'll have to give it a shot. I'll at least have to give Second Son a shot since I have it through PlayStation Plus for free. Yep, exactly. Yeah. So, but I don't think I'm going to get, my intention was to try to get through it, get to it before we did this episode, and then more importantly before Ghost of Tsushima came out. But Persona is just an incredibly long game, and I'm still playing it. So I'm still playing that and The Last of Us at this point. So it'll have to be after. I think I'll have to revisit it after already having my feet wet, getting my feet wet with Ghost. But anyways, so what is your favorite Sucker Punch game?
The one I played the most of is 1, but I did play 2, and 2 was everything I loved about 1, but better.
Okay.
So even though I haven't actually completed the Sucker Punch game, I'm going to say Infamous 2. Okay. Because what I played of 2 was actually better than I thought Second Son was.
Gotcha.
Even though Second Son is set in Seattle, which is an amazing city, and it's on PlayStation 4 instead of the 3, so it had a better frame rate and looked a little prettier with some better particle effects. None of that stuff, affects me as much. So Infamous 2 I'm actually the most fond of, and I am desperate to go back and play these games.
Yeah.
So I want to.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I also want to try Sly Cooper out. So if you guys have that laying around anywhere, then hit your boys up. I know, not you. I'm talking to our listeners right now. If anyone's got that and wants to just slide it our way, we'd be happy to accept that. But
yeah, it'd be fantastic. We'll talk about it on the show just for you.
Yeah, exactly. So cool. I mean, like I said, I don't have any experience with Sucker Punch at this point, so I'm hoping my favorite Sucker Punch game is Ghost of Tsushima, but we'll check back in when I have more experience. Okay, cool, sweet. So let's talk about how they've brought innovation to the industry. So what is a Sucker Punch contribution?
The reasons I've already touched on all the stuff that I just kind of I hit the tip of the iceberg when it talks to the innovations that they did. That's the reason why it was my favorite. When I said it was all of the things I said about so far that you've heard me speak about Infamous is why Infamous 2 is my favorite game, because they perfected this for the PlayStation 3 hardware, which was super hard to program for. So what innovations did they bring to the industry? They really showcased like what you can do with little. And it started with Rocket. I don't even remember the name. Rocket on the N64. Yep. The Rocket on Wheels, a robot on wheels, with how they describe what they did with physics and like looking outside the box about here's something that somebody's already doing, like Mario 64 and other platformers that are 3D on these platforms, like Crash Bandicoot and stuff. And let's think of something different. So they focused on mechanics and doing something with physics that was unique, that no one had really seen before. And they continued that through the PlayStation 3 life cycle with, I can't speak for Sly Cooper because I don't know any of those. I just don't know them. So I'm just going to jump to, PlayStation 3, super difficult to program for, and you can do a lot with it. You can make games look amazing and absolutely gorgeous. You can also do a lot of fun new mechanics that the industry had not seen at that time. And Ubisoft touched on it with Assassin's Creed, the original one, and perfected it with Assassin's Creed 2, which is like largely lauded as everyone's favorite Assassin's Creed game. Well, Infamous, they did the same thing, but they added more to it. Superhero powers and how you can affect the world. Side quests that just show up, like randomly, procedurally generated stuff was happening around you, and then telling a story with 2 different endings, whether you're light or dark, with a moral like branch. And we had seen these kind of morality scales in like Knights of the Old Republic and various other BioWare RPGs and stuff, like bigger, heavier games. But here's this like quick, I think it's like a 30-hour game to platinum. Like it's not super difficult to platinum. You can run through it quick, and you have to play through it twice to get both endings. And it was ridiculously fun. The gameplay loop is addictive, and it was just not really put together in a way like they had done since. Like, we had saw aspects of Infamous everywhere else in the industry, but what they did to put that package together was really unique. It was really cool.
Yeah, I can't think of another superhero game off the top of my head that actually has a morality thing. Like, I think of Fable. I think of there's a lot of fantasy games that have it. There's sci-fi games that have it, but I can't think of any actual superhero games that have it off the top of your head.
I mean, Red Dead Redemption has a morality scale,
right. But again, that's not superheroes. So, although
not superhero,
to be fair, a Western with superpowers would be a pretty awesome game. But
get on that. Let's go
right now.
I'm in.
We're
gonna start.
We're gonna start a video game company. That's gonna be our first title. It'll be called
That'd be sweet.
Dead Head Revenge.
Oh, is all right.
It'll just
we're gonna work on the name.
The title will be called Red Dead Redemption with superpowers.
That would be sweet.
Anyways, so
Super Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really speak to this question other than what I've seen them show off with Ghost of Tsushima. So without playing the game, may end up sounding kind of tone deaf, I suppose, in the future. But what they've showed off on Ghost of Tsushima really supports your idea there too, with trying to do different things with what they have. And though, PlayStation 4, they have a lot more to work with now than they did in the PlayStation 3 or the PlayStation 2 or the N64 eras in regards to mechanics. You can still see that they're trying to iterate on mechanics. So they are very much like, we're going to take different things, different elements from different games that we have seen work, and we're going to put them together into our games in a way that works. So, like, none of their games are direct ripoffs of other games, but you could say that certain elements take from a whole bunch of different games. Is kind of what I'm seeing the pattern there of. And I think that looks like it's true for Tsushima, but they're also still innovating in ways that others aren't, right? So, like, you see the Samurai Cinema mode, I think, is one of the most genius things that they've done. And I would have loved a black and white filter for Red Dead Redemption. Like, if you could play the entirety of Red Dead Redemption in black and white, that would have been amazing. And you're going to be able to do that with...
Oh, it's a missed opportunity.
Yeah, you're going to be able to do that with Ghost of Tsushima. You'll be able... And more than that, you'll be able to toggle it whenever you want. So if you want to play the whole game in black and white, great. If you want to play the whole game in color, great. If you want to just take certain scenes where you're getting to a really cool emotional moment and you want to be like, this deserves toggling the gray filter, like, boom. That's kind of how I'll probably be playing it, is I'll probably play it where I'll, like, toggle it at certain points in the story as I see fit. And so yeah, they're doing cool stuff to try to be. It sounds like they try very hard to be true to the worlds that they create. They talk about the danger of the katana in Tsushima, and it's like it's going to be something that, like, the combat will be fast, it will be quick, it will be done and dirty. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be this long drawn out, fight sequence where you have to whittle down a health bar. It's going to just be like, they're dead. Oh, you're dead. And that sounds like it's, again, like I said, very true to the world that they're doing. And again, they try to innovate. Again, what they're doing with things like stealth mechanics aren't new, but you can tell that they're iterating on what they've done before. So they've done games with stealth before, i.e. the Sly Cooper series, and now they're iterating on that in Tsushima, where they're making this, they're giving you the choice to, like, oh yeah, do you want to go in there, quote, guns blazing with your sword and just kind of take things on as a samurai would, honorably, or are you going to go stealth, the option? And they even showed that, like, stealth is not some predetermined thing where if you get caught, you're done. If you get caught, you can, like, drop a smoke bomb and then disappear and continue to be stealthy or whatever. So it looks like it's a very action-reaction stealth system.
I think it's like 100, I might be wrong, but 100%. Every game that has stealth in it, the moment you get discovered, you are, like, done. Like, you will not be able to go back to hiding again and getting back into the quietness. It's like you can get, like, most of the way through some of the enemies quiet, and you eliminate most of what's going on out there, and then, like, you get discovered, and then it becomes an action game. And it's like, okay, let me use my very limited resources to get out of this. And it usually involves killing all the enemies. And that's like Metal Gear Solid, that's Splinter Cell, that's Last of Us, that's everything I've played with that has stealth in it. And I don't like it. Yeah. I've never really liked stealth games. I'm not good at them.
Give me at least something that allows me to get back into stealth. And that's what it seems like. So it seems like it's going to be more about, like, coming prepared, having the resources that you need, having the right gear equipped in order to be successful with stealth, but also giving you tools to allow you to adjust on the fly if you make a mistake, which should make for some pretty incredible action sequences if you choose to go the stealth route and go the way of the ninja on things. But again, even that looks like you're not stuck to a certain route. If you can't, it's not like you choose ninja or samurai and then are stuck to that way for the rest of the game. You could, every individual encounter, you could be like, I'm going to do this one as a samurai and then this one as a ninja, giving you a lot of flexibility in play, which I think sounds great. So I'm looking forward
One of the
to
games,
it. I hope that it lives up to my expectations.
Yeah, hopefully it looks fantastic. One of the games that epitomizes my hatefulness of stealth is Horizon Zero Dawn. Is like, you can go in stealth-wise and set up all these traps and do all this cool stuff and like execute it perfectly, and it's amazing. Or you can get in and try and set up a couple of traps, and then you get discovered, and everything you've done up to that point is wrecked. And now you're in this like fight with this giant monster, and it's wrecking you, and it's discovered you. So everything cool you've done in preparation, all the traps you've prepared for, all the abilities you've scaled your character Aloy out to do is worthless because you got discovered. And that's frustrating to me. And so I actually put the difficulty down to story so I could just play the game and get the platinum trophy and experience the story, which was amazing, without the frustrations of stealth. Because that really, like, my hatred of stealth gameplay was really what made me aggravated at Horizon Zero Dawn enough to drop the difficulty down. And I want to play it again. But that's a different story. So what I wanted to say about Horizon Zero Dawn with Ghost of Tsushima is they're very similar. Open world. You can see a lot of Witcher influence with how the graphics are, with the breeze and the grass and the trees in the distance, and the wind guides the character as a kind of a mechanic to keep you on the
right.
On
they
the
talked
path.
about, really quick, do you mind if I zoom in on that? Because they talked about environmental cues instead of things like waypoints on your map in order to guide you somewhere. And
that's the innovation. That's what I wanted to highlight.
But and that's not the first game that we've had that has done that. So they, in my mind, maybe it's not such a clear parallel, but in my mind, they must have drawn inspiration from Breath of the Wild for that, because that is exactly what Breath of the Wild was all about, like discovering things through either visual cues or like talking to people in the environment that would tell you things. And then you still had to rely on visual cues to find it. So again, instead of a waypoint, they'd be like, yeah, I've heard there's treasure at the top of a waterfall down this river or whatever. And you'd find that river on your map, you follow it, you find the waterfall and climb to it, but there would never at any point be a waypoint or a path, like a illuminated path for you to follow. Tsushima looks like it's drawing a lot of that same inspiration where, again, like you said, you'll be able to like play your flute or whatever, and the wind will kind of guide you. There'll be like a visual cue of the wind pointing you in the right direction. They talked about how you'll be able to do these like village raids or whatever, and you'll know that you can do it when you see smoke, like fire, like a village burning off in the distance. So again, it's just really neat visual cueing as a way to get you to go where you need to go, as opposed to, and that to me is like, oh, you pulled that from Breath of the Wild, but you're iterating on it further. You're giving more. I think can you like summon, like not speak to animals, but can't you get like, isn't there like a way to get like an animal, like a fox or something, to show you treasure? I thought there was something like that.
I think so. And then the bird too that you work with to show you stuff. Yeah. So, and it's like they're drawing a whole bunch of stuff together and like making a different, unique package. And even the setting, the feudal Japan setting has only ever been done this entire generation by Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. That's it. We have 2 samurai games. The entire, like, from 2013 to now, at least as far as I know.
Neo, right?
Correct me if I'm
wrong.
wrong.
Neo has like a feudal Japan setting,
but
it's
right.
like,
there's Neo. Yep.
But I believe, if my buddy Justin's super into
3?
Neo right now, but I believe you're like a white dude, like you're an English sailor who like crashes on Japan. So you're not, getting behind the like a actual Asian person and a Japanese person in feudal Japan. And I think Neo has a bunch of supernatural elements. I don't know about Sekiro, but this is a game that is, again, trying to be true to the world of feudal Japan in a way that not a lot of games have really done. And again, they're trying to, they've talked about their influence in the same way that Red Dead was inspired by Western movies, and they were going for trying to create a Western movie. The same thing is happening with Ghost of Tsushima and old samurai, like the old samurai black and white movies with the Ronin, the lone samurai who has to go and like, he's an outlaw, but he also is like a noble, heart of gold kind of hero, wanders from town to town and saves people. So yeah. Anyways, this is a game that hasn't come out yet, and we're trying to focus, highlight the stuff that they do.
Yeah, so, it looks amazing.
But I think that I'm hoping that at least Sucker Punch will show how they've brought innovation when that game comes out. And it looks like from what we've seen so far, it looks like they are doing that. So cool. I'm going to skip this next one because I don't think either of us have played enough games to really know. So it's just in our template for the thing. So let's go and talk about the last question here is, what would you like to see more or less of from Sucker Punch in the future? And hopefully we won't ramble too long on that, and we'll be able to let our listeners go a little bit early than we have been recently. So
how about that? What Sucker Punch has done during the PlayStation 4 era, generation, if you will, is Infamous Second Son and Ghost of Tsushima. Last Light was a DLC standalone. So that's pretty much it. 2 games over the course of 7 years And I guess that's normal for first-party big studios that aren't as big as Naughty Dog had Uncharted 4, Lost Legacy, Last of Us Part 2. Like, that's it. So I want more. I want more games from Sucker Punch. I want to experience what they have to offer. But I guess that's normal. Guerrilla Games came out with Killzone Shadowfall as a launch title, and then Horizon Zero Dawn, and that's it. So they're up there. I mean, they're not lagging behind. They're not. But for some reason, I just feel like I need to get to know them more. So I want more of them.
Yeah, I'm with you.
In the industry.
I'd like to see them. I think that their weakness right now, and so what I would like to see less of, if I can answer it in that direction, is unfortunately they tend, from what I've seen, they tend to follow the trends in regards to the overall feels of their game. So Sly Cooper was a very early 2000s game where it was a stealth game for one, and that was all the rage back in the early 2000s, and it was also a mascot platformer, which were also all the rage in that time frame. Similarly, Infamous is a superhero story in a world that is already completely glutted and massively just overwhelmed with superhero stories. You can find a ton of superhero games, you can find a ton of superhero movies, TV shows. It's just all over the place. Even if it was gritty and unique in the way that they did their mechanics, it doesn't change the fact that a lot of people are drawn to games that they find have some unique pull, some unique draw. That's the reason why they're not the only studio. They're not the only studio who's does that. I even wasn't particularly attracted to The Last of Us for a long time because I was like, it's just basically another zombie game. Didn't realize it had an amazing story. Right. So, you have to be told these things in a lot of ways. So you have to have people who push you in the direction of those games. It looks like, though, that is going to change with Ghost of Tsushima. Like you said, there haven't really been a lot of feudal Japan samurai games, and there have been very few that were open world and not ridiculously hard. So I think that that's going to be a very unique, or at least it'll stand out now. So I want to see them do more. I think I want to see them do more standout games, and maybe that's 2 more Ghost of Tsushima games after the first one, if that franchise is successful. But I'd like to see them, kind of be bold in their choice of world and vibe for their games in order for us to, for it to stand out. So I know that that's a narrowing gap. I know that it's getting harder and harder for unique genres to really kind of stand out because everything's been done and everything continues to be done to this day. But yeah, I think that is kind of what I would like to see for them, is just kind of find a way to make a pull. So, and I would love to see them do another Sly Cooper game for the modern generation, though, like that to can then counter the very thing I just said. I think that I'm falling in love with a lot of these mascots that I never got because I was never a PlayStation guy in the early 2000s. So I'm falling in love with a lot of these mascots like Spyro and Ratchet and Clank that I never got to experience because I'm getting the new versions of those games. And
what about Crash? Did you play that?
Crash is just hard. Like,
isn't it though?
My experience
with
Crash is, again, to me, playing Crash Bandicoot is tantamount to like playing a Dark Souls game because it's the challenge of it. So I like Crash. I like the vibe, but I don't know if I'm willing to take on the challenge of Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy or whatever. But I like like I said, the Ratchet and Clank remake. I was like, this is it's like rediscovering an entire mascot that I missed out on in my childhood. It's like almost like discovering a Nintendo game. So I would love to. Like a Nintendo game I never played, kind of, you know what I mean? And that's kind of what I would like with, I would like to play a Sly Cooper game, but I don't know if I'm willing to like fire it up on a PS2 that I don't have. So I would like a remastered remake version of Sly Cooper. I think would be pretty cool to experience for the first time as an adult. So
that'd be sweet.
Cool. All right. I think that answers the question for me. Does anything else kind of spark your mind in regards to more or less from Sucker Punch?
No, I mean, I'm excited for PS5 and see what they're going to do with the tech.
I just want to see Ghost of Tsushima on the PS5.
Yeah, right? I mean, this is the last AAA PS4 game we're going to see. This is the swan song. A lot of people are lumping The Last of Us Part 2 together with Ghost of Tsushima. Makes sense. It's the last year the console will have.
I feel like Cyberpunk will be the third-party version of that,
it's a third-party. Right, yeah, exactly. And so, like, this is it. Like, from Sony, goodbye PS4, right? So when this game comes out, it's going to be a little cool to finish, I think, when I see the credits roll. Hopefully the story of the game itself will be so engaging and thought-provoking that I'll just be like, yeah. But hopefully, put a little pin in the PS4's cap and get excited about PS5 and look forward to that. So we'll see what Sucker Punch can bring us in the future.
All right, cool, fantastic. Well, we want to hear your thoughts on, look at us finishing. This is like, I'm looking at the time right now and I'm like, man, what a tight episode. Why can't all of our episodes be like this?
Because we like to talk.
We do. Anyways, but we are done talking, so we want to hear what you think of Sucker Punch. If you are a big fan of these games, if you think they're just the worst, we want to hear those opinions and every opinion in between. So Termite, where can the good Podsmashers of the internet reach out to us so they can share their thoughts, opinions, and feelings towards Sucker Punch Productions?
As we said at the beginning of the show, we are a weekly video game podcast, so we go live every midnight on Mondays. Our new shows will launch, and you can figure out where those shows will launch at 80bitpodsmash.com. It's our landing website where we have links to Google Play, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, etc., Stitcher, all of the places you would want us to be. So please go leave us a review on iTunes. Our last review is from 2018. If you leave us a review on iTunes, we will read it regardless of what it says. It's a perfect opportunity to troll us.
Yeah, sorry, we'll read it. We'll read it on the podcast, to be clear. Like we will read it live on the podcast. For your pleasure. Obviously, we will censor out anything that is not family friendly, but other than that, we will maintain its purity, whether it is flattering or not.
So please do that. You can find us on Discord. The show or the server link is in our show notes that go live on our social media platforms. So that's Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, Twitter, 80BIT Podsmash, all across the board. No hyphens, no uppercases, no funny business. And we go streaming on Wednesday nights, 8 o'clock at night, Eastern Standard Time or Daylight Savings Time, whichever time of year it is. Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock. On twitch.tv/80bitpodsmash, so you can interact with us on the chat there live, and we'll answer questions and talk about the pedigree of games and the stuff that we love and play, and it's a great time. So come hit us up.
Yeah,
let us know what
fantastic.
You think.
Cool. Next week, we don't actually have anything on the docket, so we need to figure out what we're going to do, but we will have a topic for you to listen to, so
Ruh-oh.
We'll see you then.
See you next week.